Lady Shylock. She's got some reputation.
Hey there, handsome.
Patty D'Arbanville plays the role of Lorraine Calluzzo on The Sopranos, and she's present in 3 episodes. I kind of wish she'd been around longer in season 5. FYI, Shylock equals loan shark for the purposes of this video.
I'd like to introduce the love of my life. This is my partner, Jason Evanina.
The term partner is used more commonly now, but at that time, most women in Lorraine's situation would have labeled Jason as their boyfriend. But Lorraine certainly didn't fit the mold of the stereotypical woman.
Yeah, keeping it together with Pilates and gin.
Christopher tells Lorraine she's got some reputation. And we learn a little about that reputation, but I feel like I've always wanted to know even more. Now, Lorraine was no saint herself. She had no problem using the N-word and acting tough. That is, until she saw her friend who was looking for those Islanders tickets. How about this humidity? 2 times you were told to kick up to Johnny Sack, and then she did it again for a 3rd time. Not kick up to Johnny Sack. Comes in 3s. Phil tells her, next time, there'll be no next time. In the words of Dr. Krakauer, one thing you can't say is that you hadn't been told.
There's a lot of potential for bloodshed.
Potential? They almost killed us.
Jason, men are talking here.
Jason, men are talking here. Such a great line. This is another example of how Lorraine is not the typical female. I think it's safe to say that she's the alpha in this relationship. Was there something else beyond what Johnny Sack mentions that makes him feel this level of rage when it comes to Lorraine Calluzzo? We never actually see the 2 of them alone face to face. Did Lorraine insult Johnny in the past somehow? Johnny also mentions a brother-in-law, Andy, at one point. Do Andy and Lorraine have a history? It just feels like there's more there that we don't get to learn more about.
Jace? Are you knocking?
Just before Lorraine is killed, she's crawling on the floor trying to get away in what she surely knows will be a losing attempt at escaping, just like Adriana Lacerva was doing when she was crawling on the ground away from Syl in long-term parking, right before she was killed.
Kill a woman? Come on.
So if we look at them crawling on the floor and the ground, it's almost like they're animals. They're lower. They're seen as less than. For some people, like Rusty, that means they're not to be killed or made casualties of whatever battle the men are fighting. But I suppose Johnny having this idea in his head of Lorraine's not a girl may make it easier for him to be okay with ordering the hit on her.
Fucking Philly Leotardo.
Does little Carmine assume that it's all Phil pulling the strings here? He says, fucking Philly Leotardo, and Rusty reminds him that it's Johnny Sack actually making the calls now.
She told me he warned her.
Maybe it's because Carmine and Johnny Sack used to be so close that Carmine didn't think that Johnny Sack would have Lorraine killed, knowing how close Carmine and Lorraine were. But if anything, that probably made it even more likely that Johnny would have her killed, given how angry he is with Carmine for what he sees as a threat to his becoming the next boss.
Maybe you let him keep Lorraine, and you take a bigger piece of his Florida shit, the clubs.
You know, it wasn't long ago I remember you used to wait in the car. And as far as I'm concerned, you should still be there.
Let her taste her own medicine. Did Lorraine really love a high body count? We don't actually see any evidence of that, so it's hard to comment on. But it would seem unusual and out of character, again, for a woman, as women aren't typically the most extreme aggressors when it comes to killing and racking up body counts. Perhaps she inspired Johnny. If Lorraine warned Carmine that Phil had warned Lorraine, what did Carmine say to Lorraine? Did he tell her, oh, screw them, they're just trying to act tough, you don't need to worry about him? Did he tell her to pay up? Did he not really advise her at all, or just maybe tell her to do whatever she thought was a good idea? Part of being a good leader is making good decisions and also advising others to make good decisions. Did they really not take Johnny Sack or Phil seriously? After the news is delivered about Lorraine and Jason, Rusty Melio wants Carmine to get out there and show him who's boss. In fact, he says it'll be easy. Just like it would have been easy for Lorraine to start paying Johnny and not lose her life over kicking up a couple of points that she would have already been doing anyway, just to a different person.
It'll be easy.
Of course, as Rusty and Angelo tell Tony B, it's not the boat. It's not the boat. It's Lorraine Calluzzo. Rainey Calluzzo. So if it weren't for this Rainey Calluzzo situation, perhaps the rest of this bloodshed in season 5 could have been avoided altogether.
It's not the boat. It's not the boat. Little Carmine went to school with her. They go back that far.
Kill a woman? Come on.
Let's talk, John, about the 500-pound elephant in the room, which is that you started this cycle of bloodshed when you whacked the girl Carmine used to fuck.
Lorraine Calluzzo was not a girl.
Now, in terms of women on the show who are like Lorraine, the closest would probably be Annalise Azuka, followed by Angie Bompancero once we get later in the series, and Angie starts putting money out on the street and running Puss's body shop.
Well, you can introduce me to the boss.
You can talk to me. Rome has a war against us. But our men are in love to their mama, huh?
What about the real world? Are there any real-life equivalents of Lorraine Calluzzo in organized crime? Here are a couple of 3 examples. Now let's talk about Arlene Brickman. As a teenager, she became involved with Italian mobsters, hanging out in mafia nightclubs, seducing them in Cadillacs, and in later years running drugs. At 35, Brickman was beaten and raped and learned that none of her mafia friends would help her, since she was a woman. So, according to her, she turned on the mob 8 years later when a loan shark threatened to hurt her 18-year-old daughter, Leslie, unless she paid off a loan. We also have Virginia Hill. At one time called the Queen of the Mob, she's best known for her relationship with Bugsy Siegel, but she rose up high among the ranks and spent time with guys like Meyer Lansky, Joe Adonis, Frank Costello, and others. Even as late as 1949, she was described as the intellectual director of the Chicago Outfit's narcotics trafficking ring in Mexico. So being a woman involved directly in organized crime, on the street, in the clubs, involved in the daily operations, was not common, but it did happen every so often, and Lorraine seems like she fits the profile. Now in Italy, there's a lot to talk about in terms of women and organized crime, which I'll save for a separate video. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. What do you think about Lorraine Calluzzo, Lady Shylock? I'd love to hear from you.